Welcome back to another episode of Punchlinepixels. I'm your host, Laird. Hope you've all done really well. I'm going to be rounding up all the game news lately between the PlayStation State of Play, the Xbox Showcase, Nintendo Showcase, Summer Games Fest. I'm a little behind, but I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on, there's quite a few things to be excited about, probably more stuff to not be excited about. Maybe that's just the pessimist inside of me. Gonna kind of keep this quick. Got a lot of stuff to touch base on, so I think we're gonna go in order of release. Starting off, the PlayStation State of Play. They opened it up pretty strong with a showing of Insomniac's Wolverine. No surprise, we kind of all expected that. Graphically, looks fantastic. Insomniac is pretty consistent when it comes to that. I'll hold out and have a little inhibition regarding the story that they're writing. I know as the Spider-Man games were released, the stories got a little weaker, but I've also seen strong writing from them in the Ratchet & Clank games, so I have high hopes. We'll wait and see. Gameplay may be a little repetitive, but, that's just, again, me kind of looking at it with a broad brush stroke here. I'm sure the game's going to be fantastic, but we'll see. Next showing was the new Onimusha Way of the Sword. There is a demo out right now. I had tried that on my PlayStation, and pretty fun. All Capcom games are starting to kind of feel a little the same with that over-the-shoulder look. Not saying that's a bad thing, but, between Pragmata, Resident Evil, and now this, they're all kind of fitting that same puzzle piece. Capcom's pretty bulletproof right now. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what all game studios should be doing, is finding their winning formula and then trying to emulate it across all their IPs. But then I guess you run the risk of being a little benign when it comes to them. Onimusha, great game back in the day. I had the first three. Maybe got progressively worse, I don't remember. Great protagonists in all of them, even ending with the third one was Jean Reno. That was a really cool cameo, and maybe one of the first cameos I recall as a kid really appreciating. Shout out to The Professional. Next announcement that I found exciting was Dune Awakening coming to the PlayStation. I've always considered playing this on my PC, just haven't quite pulled the trigger on it. I know Steam recently had a free weekend with it, but I was on the road, so I wasn't able to kind of dabble in it. I'd be interested in that being a demo as well. I'd like to maybe try that out first before I sink my teeth into it and actually make the purchase. But the movies are great, the book's great, the world building's great. Let's see if it can translate well into games. I know they kind of thought Dune wouldn't translate well into movies, and obviously Denis Villeneuve has gone and proven them incorrect on that. Sorry, David Lynch. Next game I'm excited about, Ace Combat 8. Not a huge Ace Combat fan in the past, but, when I watch this preview, I'm almost getting Top Gun Maverick vibes. They're taking this dogfighting IP and they're starting to put a narrative to it. And I know they've done that in the past, but now we're starting to see character development in it. And I'm not saying it's going to be great. I don't know if it is or not. I don't know the developers. I'm not sure what their pedigree is when it comes to writing intriguing narratives, but I'm interested in giving it a shot and seeing if it can scratch that Top Gun Maverick itch. Next game, this has been a game that's been announced for a while now, but we just now are starting to see some gameplay on Ill. And ill, it makes you feel ill when you watch these things. It's disgusting, it's morbid, and it's got my curiosity up. Maybe that's a morbid curiosity. I get a little Condemned vibes. Chime in the comments if you got that as well when you were watching this preview. But, if I could get some modern day Condemned, and on one of my recent episodes of a top 3 unnerving games I did last Halloween, Condemned was on my list. So I'd love to see something like that again. I'm not much of a horror game person myself, but cool to kind of see a modern day homage to it, if you will. Next game up on the list was Control Resonant. I loved Control. I like what Remedy's doing. I liked Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 1 was pretty good. I played it way later, so maybe I lost the initial push that would have had when it first came out. But I have high hopes. I mean, it's a very different game than what Control was. You're playing as Jesse Faden's brother this time instead. You're in the open world Manhattan space instead of the oldest house. I love the oldest house as a setting, so it's going to be kind of sad to leave that, but the Hiss is a very intriguing enemy. I'd like to see how they pull the Alan Wake story into it. Control had a DLC that came out that regarded the Alan Wake IP, and really unnerving, probably the most unnerving aspect of Control was that DLC with the Alan Wake part. They really established a good setting with that. That's probably my most exciting game shown in the PlayStation State of Play for me. And last but not least, God of War Lao Fei. This one is getting some crazy mixed reviews, and I kind of gave my 2 cents on it on the episode I recorded recently with Nate. I'm not personally excited about it in regard to the fact that I'm not personally invested in Lao Fei as a character. Now, hey, maybe Sony Santa Monica can write her well enough to get me intrigued in it, but at face value, you can't sell me the God of War IP with a different protagonist and expect me to automatically purchase it. And I can't really go on the laurels of Sony Santa Monica either. As we've learned in the past, you can't just follow a studio blindly because they've done well in the past. We've seen it. Writers get picked off. Developers get picked off. People leave the company. They go to new companies. They start their own companies. So we need to start paying attention to the fact that you follow developers and writers and designers and don't inherently just follow the studio themselves. We learned our lesson with Obsidian. Look what happened to them. A fall from grace, man. And that's just one of many. It's very common. It's not just in the gaming space. It's in the movie space as well. We need to focus on the individual, not the entity themselves. So has Sony Santa Monica won the graces enough to trust them that La Fée is going to be great? No, they haven't. Because there's already been people who left who are probably very pivotal people in the development of that game. So I'm not excited by it. I'm excited by the world that they're building, but we'll see. I don't think it's inherently going to fail, and I don't wish it to either. But I'm telling you right now, from my perspective, I'm not too excited about it. On to the Summer Games Fest. It came out strong to begin with. This began with Resident Evil Veronica. So this is a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica. I don't know if you had played that in the past. Kind of a GameCube, PS2 era game. Claire Redfield being the main character, Steve being the sidekick. Very annoying. Very classic Capcom characters being written in this as well. I mean, they do their own thing. They got some really wild, colorful characters that they have in their games. The writing's extreme, and if another lesser studio had created a character like that, maybe you wouldn't have had the same kind of push behind it. But because Capcom's the one doing it, and in the end it seems like they do it well enough, I have high hopes. And honestly, again, Capcom's bulletproof right now. This is going to come out. It's going to sell well. People have been excited about it. People have been asking about this. Besides the Resident Evil 2 remake before that came out, Code Veronica was the next one. I don't know what their next move after this is. We might start seeing a focus onto the Dino Crisis IP. I'm not sure, and I'm sure it's going to do well. Next, Alien Isolation 2. Now, I don't know if you ever played Alien Isolation in the first place. Very unnerving game, stuck in a ship. You have the xenomorph hunting you, very advanced AI. The next one, it looks like we're in a more open area. I'm assuming still being hunted by xenomorphs. Still going to make for a terrifying setting. It's going to be interesting to see how that setting changes the atmosphere of the game, not being in such close confined spaces, but being in larger ones, and seeing how well they can develop that. Next game is Gen Atlas. This is from the developers of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian. So pretty legendary studio in terms of strong kind of mysterious narratives, and they keep the energy going with this preview. It's very mysterious, still a lot of larger scale. It seems to be something that they specialize in when it comes to Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian. So this is probably my most exciting game from the Summer Games Fest, I would say. I love everything that they've put out so far, so I'm curious to see what they're doing with this. Still don't have too much gameplay or information on it, but from what I'm seeing, I'm very interested. And next game up is called Hex. I'm very glad that they said how to say that because it did not read like that at all. It looks like a co-op survival, puzzle, adventure-based FPS game. We don't have much to go on in terms of the structure of it from the preview. I like the way the gameplay looks. I like the art style, kind of a Arc Raiders, Half-Life 2-esque Eastern European style. Bright colors of the clothing, Unreal Engine-based graphic. Yeah, not too much to go on there. Looks exciting. Next game, Crossfire. Now, this is an IP that's already big overseas, but they're starting to bring it here, and the showing was pretty impressive graphically. I didn't love their explanation of adaptive cover systems. I feel like a lot of games nowadays are kind of doing that. We just saw it with 007. Story doesn't look like the most engaging thing in the world. It's hard from a quick preview to garner whether you're going to have success off of something or not, and especially with an IP that hasn't quite proven itself here. Let's see what happens. Star Wars. There's 2 IPs coming out now that I'm actually kind of excited about. First is Galactic Racer. It's kind of the homage, the lifeline to Pod Racer back in the day. Looks awesome. Graphically looks great. Racing looks fun. A little a la Pod Racer versus F-Zero, maybe a little Burnout. Not personally my taste, but I think the people who love that style of game, this looks like there's something in the wheelhouse. And it's nice to see the Star Wars IP getting utilized correctly. I think the last Star Wars IP that we had was the one from Ubisoft, and we saw how that one landed. Second to that is Zero Company. This is kind of a mix of Star Wars with XCOM, Enemy Unknown, XCOM 2, I guess I should be more specific. Not inherently my style of game as well, but I like to see the Star Wars IP being used in creative ways and in successful structures like that. It looks like it's a good mashing two things that go well together, so hopefully they can do something well with the Star Wars IP, because right now it's floundering in the movie space, the show space, and the gaming space. I think the last good one was probably Jedi Survivor. All right, next is 1666 Amsterdam. Now, this is being developed by the original creator of Assassin's Creed, I believe. I think this is a great example of what we were speaking about earlier, where we follow the creator, not the studio. I believe this is a new studio doing this, because we've seen that this creator can create one of the most everlasting IPs out there. Maybe, yes, it's starting to fizzle out right now, but Assassin's Creed has been around for 2 decades now. This team can build something and hopefully have some legs, have it be successful enough to keep going. Continuing on that idea of following the developers, we're looking at Blood of the Dawnwalker. Now, this is from ex-Witcher 3 developers. They left CD Projekt and went and started their own development company and are working on this. That preview was awesome. It's exactly what I was looking for. Yes, I mean, we're not seeing a ton of gameplay, but that's kind of what Witcher was too. When Witcher was first coming out, it was a lot of the pre-rendered CG cinematics, and now that we're starting to see that from Blood of the Dawnwalker, it's building the world well, it's building the narrative well, it's building the character well. I think it's super interesting. Great concept, cool delivery of the cinematic as well, and I'm not inherently always opposed to just CG, especially if I can believe in the people behind the product building a good gameplay system regardless, and they're not trying to hide the fact that the gameplay is a little weaker. Now, they're unproven, but because of what they've built in the past, not CD Projekt Red, but them themselves, I have hopes in it, and I'll be paying close attention to that one. Probably one of the most exciting ones that I saw during the Summer Games Fest. Next is The Wolf Among Us 2. Man, this is a long time coming. Telltale Games, this is probably one of their strongest IPs they ever wrote, was The Wolf Among Us, which is also getting a remaster. Probably some good timing, so people who never got to play it can go play it now so they can get excited for the second one. I mean, besides that, I'd say Tales from the Borderlands and The Walking Dead. They were doing some really strong stuff short of their Game of Thrones. You know, they definitely had something that fell flat in their face. And that style of game is controversial in the fact that some people would call it not a game in terms of how engaged it is. I mean, we start seeing games like Mixtape right now going through similar dialogue issues right now, where it's like, is this a game or isn't it a game? What constitutes a game? If you want to call it a interactive visual novel, sure, that's fine. I think a Telltale game had more interactivity than what people give them credit for. I think it shows promise and the IP is strong enough to garner enough attention. All right, and then they close it off with Final Fantasy VII Revelation. This is the third and final chapter to the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. I don't know how they're going to wrap it up. It seems like they've really taken the last two and spun it in a different direction comparative to the original PlayStation Classic, which is already a classic story. Chime into the comments your thoughts on that. Should they have just remade it directly how they did, or do you like how they're doing their own unique spin on the story to kind of subvert expectations? You know, be interesting to see how they wrap this up. I heard rumors, and maybe this isn't a rumor, I believe maybe the developer stated it, that this is the biggest one yet. And that's insane, man. The one thing holding me back from really diving into these games is how long they are. Final Fantasy VII Remake was already long enough. The whole fucking thing was Midgar, which is probably the first, 2 hours of the PlayStation original? People chime in the comments if I'm incorrect about that. But then the second one came out, and that game is so immense and large, I don't know if I'll ever get to it. I don't know if the draw is strong enough for me. And I've heard there's not a lot of filler either. It's all very engaging. I don't know if it's Witcher 3 CD Projekt Red engaging, but I've heard that it's engaging enough that it doesn't feel like Ubisoft bloat. Tough sell for me. Not because the IP by any means. I actually enjoy Final Fantasy VII, one of the strongest Final Fantasies in my opinion, and many people's opinion. But for me to commit to playing all three now, I mean, that's 300 hours of my life easy right there. I'm happy for the individuals playing it who are all caught up and have the opportunity to be excited and jump into this when it comes out. I believe in 2027 is what they said. On to the next one, Xbox Showcase. So when this first came out, everybody was super excited, like, motherfuckers, we're back. Xbox is here. They're here to play. They're not giving up. We've been hearing doom and gloom. And then I think it was like a handful of days later, they laid off a ton of different studios and people from their development team. Good and bad news when it comes to Xbox. You know, it's hard to be excited when such negativity is happening on the other side. You know, I look at something like that, and I mean, I don't mean to shed light on people losing their jobs, but I think this industry's been slightly bloated for quite some time. So I think it's kind of a necessary shedding that needed to happen. But obviously, I don't wish ill on any of the individuals losing their job. I mean, fact of the matter is, if you're not developing a game that's selling, this company's going to drop you. I don't like these larger entities consuming these smaller development teams, sucking them into Xbox, and then one game doesn't sell well, and they get shut down. I mean, they were better off staying independent the whole time. Speaking of it, Ninja Theory is getting shut down. Double Fine. These are pretty legendary studios right there to be shut down. So I know they're kind of exploring options to stay independent right now. Damn shame, man. Real damn shame. Getting into the Xbox showcase, number one news, and in my opinion, great news, exclusives. I think that's what Xbox has been missing for quite some time. When they announced that exclusivity was not a big deal, I thought that was one of the dumbest statements they could have made. It's the one thing that keeps Nintendo and PlayStation so strong and viable is their exclusivity in their games and their IPs. So nice to see Xbox kind of learning their lesson. Yeah, they put their foot in their mouth, but they took it out as well. So exclusives, great idea. Speaking of the exclusives, we'll start number one they open with Gears of War E-Day. Very exciting. Now, Gears of War IP has gotten a little worse over time. I heard 5 was pretty good. I have yet to play it, the open world, but I heard the story has just been floundering, probably ever since 3, and even 3 probably wasn't even the strongest. Maybe that was never Gears' strong point. I think the world development, the gameplay is probably stronger than the story in general. How cool, this is kind of a prelude. E-Day is the emergence day. This is when the Locusts first came and attacked the planet Ceres. Exciting. And the gameplay looks great. The graphics look great. I'm going to play it day one, most likely. Going to be co-oping it. I might stream it. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Very exciting. And then the biggest news, compared to what Xbox has been announcing, this is going to be exclusive to Xbox. Bit of a disappointment for PlayStation and PC players. Most likely, PC will get it with the Xbox app. But it seems like that initiative kind of shifted. It's like you got a little taste of the Xbox IPs, and then they pulled it away. Genius, though, because if you liked them enough, you might end up buying an Xbox or at least getting Game Pass on your PC. Maybe that was the plan all along. Genius, if that was the case. And next, the Halo CE remake. Very contentious. I look at this and it bores me. I love the idea of new pre-missions added to it. I hope they have the same vibe and flavor as the first one. It'd be easy for it to start feeling like a Halo 5 or Infinite level versus a Halo CE level, that it translates well to being a prelude to CE. In terms of the Halo IP being transferred over to Unreal, I think it kind of makes it look a little like everything else that's out there, a generic sci-fi shooter. Halo's visual identity is strong enough to still have it stand apart, and kind of cool to see it come to PlayStation. Again, just like we were talking about, seeing some Xbox IPs coming to PlayStation is exciting for the PlayStation economy. It'd be nice for some people who haven't played Halo to now dip their toes into it. And hey, like I said, if they like it, they may end up getting Game Pass on their PC, buying an Xbox, even though they keep raising the prices on these fucking consoles. If that's the plan, genius. If it's not the plan, it may have been an inadvertent side effect of it. Good on them. But I also heard that there's not going to be an online component. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think it's just co-op and the single player, and there's no multiplayer. It might be sold separately or not developed. Not sure on that. Kind of disappointing news, because that's one of the strongest aspects of Halo is its online multiplayer component. Next up is Fable. Guys, I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I am not excited about this at all, and I've loved the Fable IP. This thing has been tarnished in bad news and setbacks and delays, and that's not the only thing that's going to ruin it for me, but I think those are telltale signs of chaos behind the scenes. And we see it time and time again with these studios. Every time you see it getting delayed, unless you're a rock star, it's typically bad news. I'm all about delays when it means that the game's going to come out a better product. But my fear is that's not why they're delaying it. My fear is that they're play testing it and it's not testing well. Maybe a bit of assumptions on my end here. I'd like to be surprised. This reminds me of like a God of War Lofe. I have low expectations, but please create a good game. That's all I want. That's all any of us want. Create good games. I don't care about your politics, your identities. Just make a good game. And don't shoehorn that shit into it. Nobody's looking for that. Nobody's playing a game looking for your politics. Will I agree with them or not? Next up is Crazy Taxi. This is an OG coming back. Now, this reminds me somewhat, and I'm going to touch base on it later with the Nintendo Direct as well. We're starting to see these older games come back out remade. We just had Star Fox get released on the Nintendo Switch 2, a remake of the Nintendo 64 classic, which, it's a classic arcade shooter. Missions are 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long. Crazy Taxi is an arcade racer. Since that games came out, we've had so many games do it and probably do it better. So it's going to be interesting to see where this fits into the ether nowadays. It's one of the grandfathers to making it, but sometimes it's like the grandfather trying to go to a college party nowadays. He's got the backwards hat on and the baggy pants. You were great back then your prime, but you can't dress yourself up nowadays and pretend like you're still youthful. I'd like to see what this, refresh in the gameplay system looks like. How is it going to stay relevant in such a competitive market nowadays? Not just competitive for gameplay systems, but competitive for our time. There's so many more games out nowadays than there were back in the day when Crazy Taxi first came out. How are you going to get us? How are you going to draw us in short of nostalgia? I don't like being nostalgia baited. I've said that many times on this channel. You got to give me something more than that. All right, next game is Clockwork Revolution. Man, this game looks original as shit, and I love it. I'm all about an original IP, original world development, original, hopefully, narrative being told. I mean, you'd hope with such a unique world that a unique narrative is going to come out of that as well. And also another Xbox exclusive, and I appreciate that. Even if I didn't own an Xbox, I'd appreciate it for the fact that that's what kept this industry healthy. You got to give people a reason to own the system. You can't tempt them enough with the fact that, yeah, maybe Xbox was the strongest console that was released. Nobody cares about that, especially if you keep jacking the price up on it. You got to stand out with exclusive amenities, services like Game Pass. Very strong still, in my opinion, because they listened to the crowd. They lost a shit ton of subscribers and they jacked the price up, so they dropped it back down. And look, I resubscribed to Game Pass Ultimate because of that. There's some good exclusives coming out. Hopefully, they can maintain me on Ultimate with these exclusives. Only time will tell on that. But Clockwork Revolution looks like one of them that I'm excited for and a good enough reason for me to stay on Game Pass Ultimate so I can try it day one and stream it as well. All right, next up is Senua. So this is the third game in the Senua saga, I'll call it. The first one, great game. Second one, I started to dabble into it. The battle system was far more complex and the graphics were insane, dude. When you would lay the blade on somebody and see the actual cut, I mean, I know that's been done in tons of games, but it was very visceral. Very dirty, very raw, so I have high hopes for this one as well. Very disheartening news to hear Ninja Theory being one of the studios on the Xbox cuts recently. It's just weird of them to announce a new game but also be cut a couple days later. Obviously fighting for an independent title again, whether they go out or not. I believe this is day one Game Pass. I will be trying it. I need to beat the second one first, so maybe I'll stream that as well. Built strong games in the past. I'm more excited by Senua than I am God of War Lao Fei, because it's a proven character and they're not trying to sell me her on an existing IP on the back of another character. Pure and simple. And the last thing I was excited for in the Xbox showcase is Valor Mortis. So this is a first-person Souls-like based in Napoleonic era. I believe you are a soldier from the Napoleon era mixed with zombies of some sort. Great mix, man. I need original things like this all the time. I think zombies in settings can do really well. We've seen modern day zombies way too many times. It's nice to see it going back in time a little bit. I love to see what they can do with this. I know the demo's out. I downloaded the demo on my PC. I will probably be streaming it. So if that's something that interests you, chime in the comments. I know I've been talking about streaming all these games. I don't know where the hell I'm going to find all the time to do this. It's kind of something I want to dabble into with this year, focusing on revitalizing the channel. So that was the Xbox showcase. Exciting stuff coming from it. It's not all doom and gloom coming from them. Yeah, a ton of cuts. And do I think Xbox is mismanaged too still? Yeah, very much so. I think it behooved them to have somebody else own Xbox, do something different with it. They got a strong enough base here. They're one of the top 3 competitors in this console space. Steam tried breaking in, but their prices are insane. They're halfway between a console and a PC, and they're not winning on either side there. I don't know. I think the Steam machine kind of floundered in its announcement and its pricing structure, and I get it. It's beholden to the price of everything right now, the chip shortage, RAM shortage, we can say tariffs as well. I don't know how they stay competitive right now. Breaking into the industry at this time is a really tough time to do it. So wish you luck, Gabe. Xbox keep going strong. Hopefully we can see something good and promising from them. Lastly is Nintendo. Least exciting out of all of them, but that's pretty classic Nintendo to some extent, I suppose. It's kind of shifted its focus onto the Switch 2, which I don't own yet, but I'm still very interested. I'm waiting for that one game to come out to sell that system to me. And after watching this showcase, I'm not sure it exists still. We'll start with this just because we already spoke on it. The Star Fox remake that came out seems to be getting received very well. People who loved it will probably still love it. People who are new to it, I'm not sure if this will 100% sell them on it. The characters are a little, I don't even know what you want to say. They're almost like a mix between a uncomfortable puppet. It's like the old Nintendo style. I don't know if you remember that from back in the day, seeing the characters on the old Nintendo, Star Fox or Super Nintendo. It was like a realistic puppet look. They've taken that and made it computer graphics, kind of mixed with updated Star Fox visuals. Yeah, a little uncomforting. A little, I don't want to call it uncanny valley, but maybe a little Yeah, liminal with it. Seems to be getting received well. Let's see how it holds up in this world that's battling for attention and time. Next up was the Duskbloods. This is a IP being developed only for the Nintendo Switch from FromSoft, makers of Elden Ring and all the Souls games. Interesting to see them developing exclusively for a Nintendo system like this. I'm excited to see it. Gameplay, haven't seen a ton. And actually, this showing didn't even show much new either, which is disappointing. I think a lot of people were expecting to see like a pretty extensive reveal, like what they did with Wolverine in the PlayStation State of Play. Fingers crossed for it. That could be enough of a reason for some people to buy the Nintendo Switch too, is just for a FromSoft IP. And it seems very co-op oriented, which is a little more rare for FromSoft games. Definitely previously, maybe more so co-op based lately with Elden Ring. We'll see. Next up is Final Fantasy Resonance. So this is the first 2D Final Fantasy to be made, I believe, since 6. This is the first Final Fantasy IP they develop in the 2D style since 6. So exciting to see them going back to their roots to some extent. I like to see the 2D, 3D mix. I have yet to play or beat one. I've played the Octopath Traveler demo, but we'll see. I know some people who are pretty excited about this, and I think it kind of fell on excitement more than flat. Square's good. Square usually writes really well. Square usually delivers on their IPs. And also, this showcase was full of a lot of really impressive ports. Now, it's getting a little old. Once I saw Cyberpunk come out for the Switch 2, I got it. The Switch 2 can play most games nowadays. But, we saw a lot of things coming out. Like we saw Warhammer Space Marine 2. Like, that's insane. That's an insane game for the Switch 2 to be running. I mean, that thing is actually competing with some modern day things. Yes, there's going to be some provisions given when it comes to graphics and performance. I bet you it plays well, plays the same, and it's pretty crazy to have it on a handheld. I think people are underestimating that fact that, yeah, maybe there's not enough of an original IP to sell you the Switch 2, but the portability of playing some of these great games might be enough to sell it as well. I still play my Switch just for the portability aspect as well, but I can't come downstairs and sit in front of my system. I can go upstairs when I'm watching my kid and play on my Switch. That alone could be enough to sell it, and exciting to see some of these IPs coming out for it, such as Liza P. All right, the last two exciting reveals from the Nintendo showcase. The first one, Kingdom Hearts 4. We knew it was coming, but now we saw some gameplay. Definitely looks like it needs some more time in the oven. It looks a little jankety still, but anybody who's been into Kingdom Hearts IP for as long as they have are willing to give it time. I mean, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I never played 3. Oh man, talk about a confusing narrative. For somebody who harks on narrative so much, I should be lambasting these games, but I actually like the depth that they give. I just wish I could make more sense of it. Maybe I should just get on YouTube and watch somebody do a deep dive on the lore, because at face value on the games, I can't make fucking heads or tails of it. Very interesting, and for people who aren't aware, it's a kind of a mashing of Final Fantasy IPs mixed with Disney. So kind of a match made in heaven, huh? I mean, two multi-billion-dollar companies mixing their IPs together and creating original stories and narratives off of it. It's been interesting since day one to me, strong characters. Excited to see what they do with it. I don't know how 3 was received. I don't think it was necessarily received poorly, so I think, people have high hopes going into this and are excited to see Kingdom Hearts IP coming back. I am, for sure. And last but not least, the most exciting news, but mixed news as well, is the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake. Just an announcement trailer. They didn't give us any gameplay or anything like that. We hardly even saw what the graphics were. Really strong reveal. They're trying to hit you in the feels, get you the goosebumps and the nostalgia when that big moniker gets revealed saying Ocarina of Time, and it showed, Link laying in his bed like we saw at the beginning of Ocarina of Time. I found it exciting. I don't know if it's enough to sell a system for me still. We already saw the 3DS remake come out, and I didn't purchase one of those for it. Does it need to exist? No, not necessarily, but people have been asking for it. And I think people are going to bitch if you don't give them what they want, and then you give them what they want, and they bitch about it as well. So kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to these developers sometimes. I don't blame them for giving it a shot. And hopefully they can do something fun and exciting with it. I mean, it's such a legendary game. Most people would still rank it as their number one game ever. I wouldn't personally, but it's definitely in my top 20. It's got to be. I recently played it probably in the last 5 years again. Holds up. Yeah, controls are still a little hard, but the lock-on feature kind of fixed all of that. I'd love to see what the modern day battle system looks like, a modern day vision of what these levels look like, obviously more complex level layouts. How far do they stray from the original IP like Final Fantasy VII, or do they stay pretty true to it like a Star Fox? Because people complained about it either way. People complained that Final Fantasy went too far, and people complained that Star Fox was too similar. So I don't know what that Goldilocks zone is. Hopefully Nintendo's able to figure it out. If anybody figures it out, it's probably Nintendo. They're a strong enough developer, and Shigeru Miyamoto's just kind of a genius when it comes to that stuff. So that's it. That's me wrapping up the 4 big showcases in the last month and a half here. Sorry it took me so long to get this out, but I appreciate you all sticking with me and kind of hearing my 2 cents on everything that's coming out, or at least the things that I'm excited about. There's a ton of stuff that I wasn't able to touch base on, so if I miss anything that you're excited about, please chime in the comments and tell me what it is you're excited about, why you're excited about, and challenge me. If there was something that I liked or didn't like, tell me why you disagree with that sentiment. So I appreciate you tuning in and sticking around. Please drop a like and a sub if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next Punchline Pixels. See ya.